This is my new digital kit called Steampunk Dreams. When I created it, I wanted it to have a feminine flair to it. Something you will see throughout the kit are these deep, rich colored roses. Most of you know by now that I am doing a steampunk series because I am working on 2 steampunk journals. One of the journals I am using my kit that I created, and my other journal that I'm working on, I am going to use my friend's kit. Her name is Tina, and her channel name is Tina Loves to Craft. My kit is available in my Etsy shop if you are interested. It comes with 10 journal pages and 5 ephemera pages. Some of those pages have tags and some of those pages have fussy cut ephemera. Now I want to show you the kit that Tina sent to me. For my 2K giveaway challenge, I asked for recommendations of what journals you guys would like to see me make. And Tina recommended a steampunk journal, and she sent me a kit that she created. So that's why I'm making 2 journals. In today's video, I am sharing both of the kits, and then also I think we'll work on putting the pages together for the journals. Tina sent me copies of her kit, and on the one side is the print of her digital, and then on the other side it's plain. Well, I don't really like to have plain paper in my journals, as you guys know. So we're going to go ahead and paint these pages with coffee. I know that the ink is going to bleed a little bit, but I really do not want white pages. The only other thing I thought about that I could do besides painting them is I could stamp them. So, you know, if you're in the same situation, you could go ahead and stamp it. You could also do some stenciling if you wanted to dress up the page a little bit. And then the other thing I thought of to make the pages back to back would be to sew them together. Gluing them, they might get a little wrinkly and a little weird, although it could be doable. But I thought sewing them together would be interesting. And actually, I probably would have done some of that, but my sewing machine is broken right now, and I have not had time to take it in for service. There's been so much going on in my life that I just haven't had time to do it. And May is going to be such a busy month. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it till I get back in town in June. I laid them aside to dry, and now that they're dry, I'm going to go ahead and fold them in half. And I'm going to tear off the white edges that are still showing. I noticed that when I tear off some of the edges, it leaves a little bit of a white edge as opposed to the coffee dyed look. So I'm going to grab my coffee and I'm just going to go right around the edges just to make sure they match up with the rest of it. I have to say, I really love how crunchy these papers feel now that they're coffee dyed. I'm not sure what pound paper she used, but they definitely have a really cool feeling to them now. You saw before that I tore some with my hands. Well, then I decided I'd go ahead and grab a ruler, press down on it, and tear some like that. It still gives you a little bit of a rough edge, but it's definitely more straight. So I thought I might like just the variety of having some kind of rugged, and then some still a little rugged, but straighter. I have switched over to my kit now. I have printed my digital kit on the back side of plain scrapbook paper. This particular piece was white with gold, well, you can see little dots on it, so I decided I'd go ahead and give that a coat of coffee as well. Now this paper is much thicker, so it won't end up having that same crunchy texture, but at least it won't be bright white. I'm also going to dye this page with coffee. It's got the white, black, and gray cameras, and just getting rid of all this white background. Same for this white, black, and gray marble piece. Anything actually that's got white on it, I'm going to go ahead and splash it with some coffee, and then that way everything will be more cohesive. I'm also going to be using a piece of wallpaper in this project, and it is white on the back side. So I'm going to try coffee dyeing it. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to go ahead and put the coffee on there and we'll see what happens. I've got some Distress Oxide ink, and in case you didn't know, when you work with it wet, it changes the ink. It gets, I don't know, it gets like a little bit of a chalky look to it. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I haven't used my Distress Oxides very much, but they do have a cool effect. So what I thought I would do is leave the wallpaper piece a little bit wet and go ahead and stamp it and just see what would happen. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and put the wallpaper piece in the journal that I'm making using Tina's digital kit. I think the colors of the wallpaper will work really well in this particular kit. I have a pretty decent stash of sewing pattern paper, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of it in each one of the journals. You know, I sometimes forget to use the things that I have in my stash, so I'm trying to be really mindful of every time I'm ready to make a journal, I'm just going through basically every cabinet, every drawer that I have, and if I can use something, I'm grabbing it and I'm trying to work it into the journal or the project, whatever the project is. Sometimes pattern paper, the pattern's been cut and so the pieces can be small. So I went through that particular package to find one that I could make into page sizes, and I found the perfect piece. I have a vintage home plan magazine book, and it's full of home floor plans. I think it's so cool. I actually think it used to be my dad's. So it's always an honor to use something that was my dad's. So I'm going to pull out a couple of pages, one for each journal. I've also got this Popular Mechanics magazine, and I actually did not find this at the thrift store or anything. I actually purchased this, and I'm so glad that I did because the advertisements in it are fantastic. I love them. And because it's a mechanics magazine, I think that's perfect for steampunk because, you know, you see the engines and the gears and all of that kind of stuff. This is also vintage, the Magazine of Building, and it is dated 1951. And I think this might have been my dad's as well, but I'm not 100% sure. This could be another vintage magazine that I purchased simply for the advertising. Another magazine that I pulled out of my cabinet was this Basic Home Wiring Illustrated. This was my dad's as well, and actually when I opened it up, I discovered these drawings that he had done. He must have been doing some electrical plans for a project. My dad was a general contractor, and so it was kind of neat to run into those notes that he had made. I have a big container where I store all of my coffee dyed items. So I have some coffee dyed bank registers, envelopes, and then I've got some pages that are lightly coffee dyed but also stamped or stenciled. You guys might remember the video that I posted where I created those. That was a lot of fun. These are some gray coffee dyed ones. Here's my coffee and gold paper. No, that was my coffee and silver actually. Here is some black dye paper that I created. I think that turned out pretty cool. And then, of course, my pile of magazine pages that I pulled. I have torn many of the page edges, so I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to use my decorative edge scissors and just zip through a few of these pages. All right, it is time to take these magazine pages and pop them into both of the journals. Now, sometimes I do end up moving my pages around or even adding additional pages, and that's okay. At least we're getting it started. The other thing I do is when I add the magazine pages, I do try to make sure that it's gonna coordinate with the page that it's sitting next to. I don't think that'll be difficult with magazine pages because they're basically black and white. But sometimes if it's like an advertisement or something, I'll try to make sure at least it looks nice together. The last thing I'm going to do is prep these envelopes, one for each journal. I coffee dyed these. These are in fact vintage. They have the stamp when they went through and got like canceled through the post office. That's on there so you can see the date. Probably 1980s. The coffee dyeing process turned out really cool on these. So I think they're going to look great in the journal. You saw I folded it in half. Now I'm snipping it. And I'm doing that because I'm going to use them as like pocket pages. And that way, when I put them in the journal, that extra paper there won't get all crinkled up. So I'm just going to slide it in like that. I'll have one for each journal, and I just think that's going to be a nice addition. Friends, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, getting to see how I'm putting some of these journals together. Thanks for watching. See you soon.